Hi, this is an exam revision video to support students who studied Cutting Edge Intermediate Unit 10. In this unit we studied grammar, making predictions, hypothetical possibilities with the word if. We studied vocabulary of numbers and statistics, society and change, and society and social issues. So this video will just go over each one of these for a few minutes to give you a review of what you studied in class. The first one is numbers and statistics. Let's look at numbers first. We're not going to do the basic 1 to 10. This is the bigger numbers. So look at these numbers. Do you know how to say them? The top one, 100, 1,000, 100,000. A million, and a billion. And obviously these go much bigger, but these were what covered in the unit. Then we have more complicated numbers. So when you have a number like this, and there's numbers that are not zeros, we say 345. So we use the word and before the last two numbers. For a large number like this, we say 10,000. We don't say thousands with an S. Just because there's 10, we don't add an S to that. It's still 1,000, 100, million, like this. And then when it's a very big number, we tend to group the numbers in groups of 3. And this actually helps with how we say it, because we say it in groups of 3. So the top one is 1 million, then 234,000, then 567. So we actually speak in these groups of 3 when we say large numbers. Now we'll look at statistics. Now statistics are when you use numbers to describe things like money or speed or weight or something like this. And we're going to look at how you say the certain symbols. So this one, this symbol, my absence is 15%. A year. So when we say this year is 2020, we tend to split it in the middle. We say the first two and the last two, 2020. I was born in 1981. So you split it, the first two and the last two. This is not always the case. Sometimes we say the full number like 2002, but usually we split it in the middle. When we have this dot here, we say there are 3.7 dirhams for every $1 US dollar. So we use the word point for this. Sometimes after a number we have a measurement, some letters, so we say these. It is 140 kilometers from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. When there's a line, this means that it's 2. We say the speed limit on the highway in the UAE is usually 140 kilometers per hour. So this line is per. This one is this little symbol that is for temperature. It's hot today. The temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. So we say degrees for this little sign. And then the last one is when there is a line before it, meaning minus. We say the parking is on floor -2. So when we say this, we say the word minus. So there's all the statistics. There's all the numbers. Please remember to study these and how you use them. This would be very helpful in your maths and of course engineering if you were studying this, but also in projects and writing if you were writing about these things. So now the grammar of making predictions. What is a prediction? A prediction is something like the weather. So now the grammar of making predictions. What is prediction? A prediction, and a good example of prediction is the weather. The weather is something we might check on our phone, on a computer. We might look outside the window to see what the weather will be like in the future, so we can plan our evening or our weekend. So here's an example of a prediction. I think it will rain this week. Will is prediction. But there are other ways to say how much we think it will rain this week. Here's examples. I think it will definitely rain this week. I think it definitely won't rain. So in the top one, 100% sure, bottom one, 0% sure. Then we have the next top and bottom. I think it will almost certainly rain this week. I think it almost certainly won't rain this week. I think it will probably rain this week. I think it probably won't rain this week. I think it's likely to rain this week. I think it's unlikely to rain this week. I think it could rain this week. So this is more or less the scale on making predictions. So you need to remember these phrases in red in the middle. So things to remember here: adverbs like probably, definitely. Notice that when we say positive, it comes after. So will definitely, will probably. But with negative, we say probably won't, definitely won't. Almost certainly, it comes before on won't. We use a modal verb like could to say it's in the middle, it's possible. You could also substitute may. I think it may rain this week. I think it might rain this week. But for negative, we don't say could not, because it's not possible. But we say might not and may not. And then likely to is to say something that's probably going to happen. Likely to, unlikely to. So this is another adverb we use. Okay, so please remember all this when you are studying making predictions. The next part in this unit was society and change. Some complicated words here. So let's take a look. So it's looking at society, is looking at people and the change. Living standards in the UAE are increasing, but the amount of free time is decreasing. So these are in red examples of society, and in green examples of words that we use to change. So let's look at change first. Things get better, things might decrease, things stay the same. So in the middle here. And here's other words to go with increase and decrease. Go up, improve, increase, rise. For going down, decrease, fall, get worse, go down. So these more or less all mean the same thing, and you can use them to talk about things that are changing. Let's look at society now, things that we need to think about in society. There's obviously many things, but these is what appeared in the book. Average income, diet, so here, this picture, what you eat. Education, which is this picture. Free time, which could be this picture, spending time with your family. Happiness, again, it could be this picture. Healthcare, life expectancy. So life expectancy is how old we expect people to live for. And living standards, so living standards. So you need to use all this vocabulary to be able to talk about society and change. And it would help in writing, especially in things like your MSAT, and to write about things that are affecting you or the people around you. So the next grammar point is called hypothetical possibilities with if. Now this sounds complicated, but it's really not if you just listen to this explanation. Here we have two pictures of places that it is possible I can go to. One is Dubai and the bottom one is Mars. So for the top one we say, if I go to Dubai, I will see some incredible things. The bottom one, if I went to Mars, I would see some incredible things. So these are more or less the same sentences, but one is Dubai and one is Mars. But look at the verbs. This one is go to Dubai, this one is went to Mars. So present, past. Will see, would see. Future will, and then the word would. Now these are both talking about the future. This is the complicated thing, but they are possible futures, but the top one is something that can happen likely, you know. I live near Dubai, I can go to Dubai nearly every weekend, so it's possible. Whereas Mars, you know, maybe in 20-30 years people will go to Mars, but it won't be me. I'll be staying here. So this one is not really possible. It's possible, but it's not likely. So this is where the difference. We call this first conditional It's real and it's likely to happen. But notice we use the present, if I go, to talk about the future. The second one is called the second conditional. It's imaginary. It's not going to happen, but it is possible, I guess. And we use the past to talk about the future. If I went to Mars, I would see some incredible things. This is a future, but we're using the past to talk about it. That's what's complicated here. So the structure of this is verb present, subject will plus verb, and then in the second one, verb is in the past. If I went to Mars, I would see. We use would and see. So both are talking about the future, but one is likely, one is not likely. So things to remember about these conditionals. You can change the order. So I will see some incredible things if I go to Dubai. Same for if I went to Mars. You can put the same sentence in the reverse, but remember you don't put a comma in the middle. In the second one, if I go to Dubai, I'll see or I'd see, you can shorten it to put I will to I'll and I would to I'd. People make mistakes with this. They put, because they're talking about the future, they put will in the with if, but with if you use present or the past. If I will go to Mars or if I would go to Mars. Next one, you can substitute would only in the second conditional with might or could. If I went to Mars, I might see some incredible things. We can also, strangely, this is a bit strange, when we're talking with I, you can say were. Were is usually with you, but we can say if I were an astronaut, I would visit Mars. You can use were or was with I, especially in the phrase if I were you, when you try to give someone advice. If I were you, I'd da-da-da. This is what we use. And look at these two sentences. If I have time, I'll help you. If I had time, I would help you. So these are really similar, but in the first one, it means I'm likely to have time. You know, I'm free every day, I can help you. If I have time, I'll help you. If I had time, I would help you means I'm busy all the time and it's very unlikely I'm going to help you. Okay, so these first and seconds can depend on your own feeling, your own opinion in the situation. So please remember to study these. Next was vocabulary on society and social issues. So, social issues, here's some pictures to help. Balance the budget, corruption, crime, defense. This picture here was crime. Next one's education, healthcare. This is the picture here. Our hospitals is healthcare. Homelessness, difficult to say, homelessness, increased spending. Pollution, which is in the picture here. Poverty, priority, and racism. And then at the bottom, increased taxes. Taxes is not the cars that drive you around, that's with an I. With an E, this is the money you pay to the government for the police or the schools and healthcare. Transport, which is buses and taxis and metro. Unemployment and waste money. So some important social issues here. I would advise learning all of them, but you need to know especially the ones that you like to talk about and you have good opinions on and affect your country. Groups in society. So here's two examples of groups we have. You have the government, which is the people who make the decisions in this picture. The opposition. So the opposition is when you have another group of people who argue against the government. Ordinary people. These are people who aren't the people who make the decisions. Then you have the poor, people without money, which is in this picture here. Taxpayers are people who pay money to the government with their houses and their salaries and things like this. And then the wealthy, another word for rich people. Okay, so learn all these social issues and groups in society to be able to talk about these issues. Okay, that's it. So in this unit we did making predictions, we did hypothetical possibilities with the word if, We did numbers and statistics, society and change, and society and social issues. Good luck with your revision.